All right, click the links. Join channel here, become a member over at Subscribestar. I got a mailbox. You want to mail me some kick-ass comics, Comicsgate comics preferably, because they're going to be way better than whatever the mainstream is offering. So IndieGoGo, Shadowbans, Lopresti's comic from their search algorithm. You have to understand the mind of these left-wing soy people to understand how petty and sad and pathetic they are. When you look at these blue-haired weirdos, at some point you can see it's just mental illness, and you can look at these Comicsgate comics, and you're looking through them, you're like, I don't see what all the fuss is all about. These just seem like pretty well straightforward comics. It doesn't seem like there should be an anti-Comicsgate movement based on these type of kind of just straight ahead normal comics. But you'd think with all the energy put into anti-CG that when you read the CG, the Jawbreakers and the Cyberfrog, you'd see something that people would object to. And you're like, no, it's not the comics, it's the people themselves. And then you look at the people and you're like, just a bunch, it seems like a bunch of normal people who are online selling comics. I still fail to see. No, you don't understand. You don't understand. Well, I'm going to explain it to you. To soy boys, it's this whole complicated movement that must be stopped. It sort of relates to why the left can't meme. They can't summarize succinctly why they hate Comicsgate, so they have to strawman some individuals and take stuff out of context and apply it to the whole, which obviously it's like, well, couldn't the Comicsgate people do the same to the anti-CG people? But we're not trying to cancel their indie comic because I don't think they sell any, and they probably have a hard time selling it. If I think Deadbeats, I guess, would have been the one example. I don't know how well that did. So they vaguely know that Comicsgate rejects the bullshit narrative, which they do, and the mainstream comics are simply this bizarre anti-white, misandrist, anti-nation propaganda that are pushing all this, whatever is the current thing, whatever the current thing is, that's what mainstream comics are. Like they bear no relation to what comics, that you grew up loving. So by Myers sitting in his car talking about comics, it was actually a bigger deal than it seems. Enough to ping on their radar, like this is somebody we have to destroy. And then when he started a movement, he kind of fell into it, or the movement kind of grew up around him. They tried to shut it down. It's like, why don't you just go live your life and leave these people alone? He rejected the comics, which was rejecting their philosophy, their dogma, their Frankfurt School social babble. So it was a bigger thing than just a guy making fun of comics, because there's a rejection of a whole, like a religion, basically. So the forces of evil come for Comicsgate, and in case you've been asleep over the past few years, mainstream comics, I can't imagine why anyone would pick them up and ever pick them up twice. They're this really cringy left-wing propaganda. So this guy, Richard Myers, decided to lampoon them on his small little YouTube channel. And then as his channel grew, he decided, I can sell my own. I mean, that was the goal all along, but he was able to parlay that YouTube channel into selling Jawbreakers and Iron Sights. And the mainstream soy boys did not like that one little channel laughing about comics. Anyway, it turned out that a lot of people agreed with Myers in his assessment of these pussies in mainstream comics. And the people, it's like, there's not just the stories and the insane propaganda, but then you look at the people behind the scenes on social media and you're like, oh, these are horrible, horrible people. No wonder their comics are just absolutely crap. So a lot of people were interested in having a bit of fun and joining this independent small business movement. Mostly people were just, want to be entertained a little bit. And the thing is, there's a lot of entertainment in the mainstream comics, because you see the people who are putting them together and realize, oh, this is like a window into a madhouse with the Gail Simones and the Mark Wades and Mags Visagios and who's that guy, Sheena Grace. I mean, a lot of these people are not playing with a full deck, or they have a lot of baggage. They have issues and they have back issues. So people joined in, and then Ethan Van Sciver was the big guy who came in after Myers, the professional, coming in, and his channel took off. But then dozens of other people from the industry started to come on board, and it got, the audience grew. Comicsgate became a loose network of independent artists using social media to sell comics. And you would think, oh, the left wing should totally be on board with that. Indies, a little indie group selling comics to this, trying to compete with this billion-dollar industry. Like, what's not to love about that? It's like, well, the left wing is not the left wing that you remember from long ago, because they had issues with this, because these Comicsgate people were not far enough left for them, which shouldn't be a problem. You just don't have to buy the Comicsgate stuff. Nobody is pressuring these pussies to watch Ethan do his live streams and all these other channels. But these SJW kids don't work like that. They don't want to watch it, but they don't want anyone else to watch it either. So they screen record these long live streams. Can be way longer than the ordinary standard is, like 2 to 3 hours. They can go on all night, and they'll screen record them so that then they can go through it afterwards and cut out clips and post them online on Twitter about people making jokes out of context. Like from an 8-hour bizarro live stream, they'll pull a couple of clips, and it's just a live stream, and people are probably drinking and probably smoking on the things too. And the things going on for 6 hours is like, yeah, there's going to be some politically incorrect stuff. That's what a live stream is. It never even occurs to somebody that, oh yeah, some Twitter sociopath is going to screen record the whole thing. You're like, wait a minute, I thought this guy doesn't like Comicsgate. He doesn't like these Comicsgate people, their comics, the channels. He doesn't like anything about it. Yeah, that's right. So he's screen recording the thing. He's carefully taking notes for a 6-hour stream, and he's bookmarking so he can go back and clip the thing afterwards. Is somebody paying them? No. It actually costs money to do this. That's insane. Yeah, that's insane. That's what a lot of these left-wing people are all about. Because SJWs do not have a sense of humor, it was removed via their anus. Everything is a weapon to them, to the point where they'll watch these long live streams just so they can post a clip of, somebody humorously calling for genocide. Okay, that might have been me. Because that's what a live stream is. It's just a fun, silly way to entertain and sell their stuff in the background. These toxic Twitter kids don't understand this because, they really are not playing with the full deck. They hate themselves. They hate everyone else. They hate the world. They can't just relax and make politically incorrect jokes because their own side will cancel them as problematic. It's got to be exhausting being an SJW. You're always looking over your shoulder for someone to, yikes, my guy, problematic tweet, bad take, yikes, just yikes, friendo. They do that kind of passive-aggressive stuff all the time. Then you look at these people and you realize they don't have enough experience in IRL talking to people, because you don't talk like that, and not because of some macho reason like somebody's going to punch you right in the face or blow you away for saying that. It's just because you're reading body language and expression, and you feel like an idiot as soon as you saw the facial expression that you knew you said something stupid. It's like you're just not going to say it twice, and you learn from that. That's what IRL stuff, like, maybe you have to be over 40 to be comfortable reading expressions to know when you overstepped and said something silly, like, oh, I better not, learn from that. But online, people don't learn from that because there's no facial expressions, vocal inflection, eye twitches. You just don't. You have to have IRL face-to-face. That's so critical. And like over the past 3 years with the whole woof thing, like, people got even weirder. And these people are weird to start with. Anyway, it's got to be exhausting being them. The only way the guys can advance on the imaginary oppression Marxist hierarchy is by taking female hormones and having body parts removed. Then they're at the top of the oppression ladder because they put themselves there until somebody else replaces them. It's all clown world. None of this stuff is based in reality. A lot of it's mental illness. It's all clown world all the time. All these soy people do is complain online. They don't actually do anything positive, is what I meant. Comicsgate sells comics, and they make money on YouTube. Those channels are making, the small, mid-sized channels can be making thousands of dollars a month. The bigger ones are making tens of thousands of dollars a month. With the YouTube ad revenue, the subs, the super chats, and then you start adding in the Subscribe Star and Patreon type of stuff. And that's not even selling anything. That's just selling advertising space for and donations. That adds up to tens of thousands of dollars to these channels. They're making probably more on their platforms than they're making from their comics. And then they're selling their comics on top of it. It can add up. Like, if you have a channel in the tens of thousands, it can add up to a nice little chunk of change. Plus, you're selling merchandise and T-shirts and coffee, whatever, all the comics themselves. But then there's a lot of crap that goes along with that. It's a full-time business for the big guys, and it's a nice little part-time business for the small guys. And you're not selling insurance. You're doing something that you probably always wanted to do. If you're into comics, you're making what you wanted to do as a kid. You're making comics. It's like, what cooler thing is that if that's how you roll? And I think a lot of these SJWs on Twitter, maybe they're jealous of that. they just can't stand to see people having a good time. In fact, that's such a common theme that they turn that into a meme where you see people having a good time. They go, no, 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 you need to change it for us. And then you change it, and then nobody buys the product, Kathleen Kennedy. They go, oh, I wasn't interested in it anyway, but you need to diversify. Like, no, I think we need to gatekeep. Anyway, so it's a full-time business for a lot of these people. And my point is, Comicsgate is doing some positive action. These Twitter pussies are doing negative reaction actions. They're not bringing in money. They get dopamine from Twitter likes, but that's all they do. It's like, well, that doesn't convert into anything. That's like you're literally paying to be anti-Comicsgate, and Comicsgate is making money. They're monetizing your hatred. They don't convert their whining bitchiness into anything marketable. They just whine about Comicsgate. They're the worst passive-aggressive tattletales that you remember from school. Those kids were, kids did that when they're young, and then when they grew out of it, it's like they put it all behind them, and they just weren't those people anymore because, your brain is changing. Well, a lot of these kids, they're still very little kids. Comicsgate's a bunch of guys making a living selling something, comics or the YouTube entertainment. It's just a fun, loose network where people are making real friendships. It's a positive thing, and these soy boys, they hate that. Anyway, so Comicsgate is mostly on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, and now a little bit on DLive and Odyssey. But Twitter is completely taken over by these 300-pound panty-sniffing soy boys who follow Comicsgate just so they can false flag them because they don't have anything better to do. They really are the most saddest, most pathetic people. So when Myers started Comicsgate, he was having problems with Kickstarter getting his comic approved for some reason. So, probably because he was at the center of this, Mark Waid controversy. So he used IndieGoGo, and that kind of became the standard. But while IndieGoGo was a little bit better, it was still run by the same woke, anti-white, misandrist communists. So it marginally better than Kickstarter. And we see with Lopresti's campaign and some others, who's that other guy who got his campaign shadowbanned? They're going to shadowban some Comicsgate comics. And it's weird when you go to these sites and you look up comics and the stuff that's on the front page are all BLT, POC, trans type of stuff. And there's just no interest in it at all. It's totally astroturfed. So when that happens with those platforms, you're not going to get much organic discovery. You have to bring your social media audience with you, which is the power of the Comicsgate network, that there are so many channels that you can promote your comics on and, cross-pollinate. So discovery would be nice, but if there is none, at that point you might as well just sell the comics on your own website or start a new crowdfunding site that doesn't discriminate, which is obviously going to be the better long-term solution to, start your own IndieGoGo. It doesn't have to be a multi-billion-dollar operation. It has to handle images and link to short videos, probably on other platforms, and then have a payment processor link to it. We're not talking about, millions of dollars to get that thing started, I don't think. So, Comicsgate is an independent movement, but the choke points would be limiting yourself to just YouTube when you can dual stream on Odyssey and Rumble, and you can open up the audience a little bit. And then the next gatekeeper is the crowdfunding websites themselves, Kickstarter and IndieGoGo, because there's only two. Now a few others have started up very recently. The thing is, it's just not an impossible hurdle to start a new website that is open to all people who just want to sell comics without being shadow banned. So Lopresti's comic looks like this kind of standard Edgar Rice Burroughs type of thing. There's no reason for it to be put on a hot list. But if enough of these Twitter, soy boys whine and complain to these platforms, the platform will shadow ban you. And they're not shy about that. Like they'll openly do that. So it's like, yeah, Comicsgate itself is big enough now that they can start their own website. And if everyone shifted over there, you'd be unstoppable, because then other people would start jumping on board there. And then whoever started that platform, it's like, you might be the next tech billionaire. You never know. Anyway, check out Aaron Lopresti's IndieGoGo campaign. If I remember, I got to put the Kit Carter Planet Doom graphic novel. I'll put the link. Or better yet, send me a copy of it. This looks absolutely fantastic. You're just shilling for free comics? Yes, that's the point of having a YouTube channel, is to beg for free comics. I have no shame about begging for free comics. That's why I have a mailbox. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, send me some cool Comicsgate comics, and I'll see you guys all next episode.